I just closed a VA loan assumption on a house in Warner Robins. My buyers didn't come in with a new loan with today's interest rates. They took over someone else's VA loan at less than 4%. Another military member, PCSing out of Robins Air Force Base, had their house on the market for sale. They had other offers. They had no restrictions. There's nothing wrong with the house. But they chose my buyers because they could get their full entitlement back, help out another member with a low interest loan assumption, and they can get a new loan for their house to their next duty station. My buyers, coming in from Colorado, have never set foot in Warner Robins. I did the video walkthroughs for them. I went out and supervised the home inspection, and we did a remote closing. And now they own the house, and they're not even going to be here for another 2 weeks. And in this video, I'm going to show you as a military member how you can assume another military member's VA loan so you can take advantage of the lower interest rates that they had 2 or 3 years ago when the interest rates were still low. So let's get started. Hey guys, I'm Chris, your real estate problem solver. I'm an agent in the Middle Georgia area, and I specialize in military relocations. I actually spent 8 years in the transportation office in household goods at Robins Air Force Base. So I did the QA inspections of the military moves coming in and out of Middle Georgia. So I know the process, and if you have any questions or you need any help with your military relocation, make sure to reach out to me. So what exactly is a VA loan assumption? The long and short of it is, if you're a military member, whether you're separated, retired, or active duty currently, you have VA entitlements to get a new home loan. Well, any of those new home loans, if you'll check your warranty deed and the security deed when you buy your house, it should say that the loan is assumable for other qualified military members. Which means if you have a VA loan and you're selling your house, another military member who qualifies can assume that loan and take it completely off your hands. The terms, the conditions, the mortgage payments, everything can be completely assumed to the buyer of that house. If you're a buyer and you're PCSing to another duty location, you can find these homes for sale with VA loans, and you can apply to assume that loan rather than create a new VA loan with the current interest rates. Of course, you have to have the debt to income ratio and you have to have a good enough credit score. But other military members can assume that loan and step into their shoes. So this is advantageous to you because right now the interest rates are running around 6 to 7%, which is normal. But for a long time, about 10 years, we had a low interest rates of 2, 3, and 4%. And those loans are still out there. And if those loans are VA loans, then you can assume those loans and take over those 2, 3, and 4% interest rates with a much lower mortgage payment. Of course, you got to qualify, which is one of the gaps that stops a lot of military members from assuming another military member's VA loan. So let me explain why a lot of military members don't do this. So if you find a house that is for sale and it's for sale by another military member and they are allowing you to assume their loan, that's great and wonderful. But as in this example, our military members came in with about $50,000 to pay the difference between the purchase price and the balance of the current mortgage. So for example, let's say a $300,000 house, the military member selling the house has been there for 3 or 4 years. So they owe $250,000. Well, if you want to buy that house at $300,000, that's what the market value for that house is, then you've got to be able to come up with the remaining $50,000 to finish buying that house. And a lot of people don't have $50,000 in savings. Another issue that stops a lot of military members from qualifying for a VA loan assumption is their credit or their debt to income ratio. So if you're thinking about buying a house in Middle Georgia, make sure to check your credit and make sure to pay off any debts that you've currently got so you can build up your credentials before you get here and you can qualify for a VA loan assumption. Typically, most banks want to see at least a 650 credit score, preferably a 700 or better. but 650 can sometimes work. So your next question is, Chris, well, if I'm going to assume somebody else's loan, what happens to them? If you qualify for the loan assumption and you have the money to pay them for the difference between the balance and what the purchase price is, then the loan is going to come to you. You're going to take it over and it's going to be put on your VA entitlements. The seller, military member, is going to get back their full VA entitlements so they can go get another loan somewhere else. So the home seller's responsibility to that home loan is going to be completely null and void. It's literally going to be transferred to you as the home buyer, lock, stock, and barrel. And so now your next question is, well, I don't have $50,000 in my savings, so what else could I do? Well, usually if you're going to assume somebody else's loan, it's going to be saving you a little bit of money, but you've got to be able to come up with the remaining balance of the purchase price. Well, the mortgage company that has that loan could also qualify you for a second loan to come up with the remaining balance of that purchase price. Another option is if you have good credit and you can qualify for a personal loan or a personal line of credit. I've seen this done a couple times as well, where you get a personal line of credit, it doesn't go against the house, and then you can use that money to finish buying the house. And then one more trick that I always like to talk about is military members have phenomenal terms, they have the best rates, and they have the BAH, which pays for the mortgage balance while they live in the house of the primary residence. You don't have to sell that house. If you keep the house that you're leaving from origin as a rental property, then you can use that house before you leave. You can get a home equity line of credit on that house and then use that money to finish buying the house that you're moving to at destination. Of course, if you're interested in building up a rental portfolio, make sure to reach out to me. I can explain how to get that done. I know a lot of majors and colonels who have retired with 3, 4, and 5 houses, and they've got their own rental portfolio. By the time they retire, they're sitting pretty good. So another question you might be asking is, Chris, why would I, as a home buyer, want to assume somebody else's VA loan? Well, let's think about it. Over the last 10 or 15 years, from 2013 all the way up to 2021, VA loans were typically qualifying for 3, 4, and even 2% loans, which meant you had a very, very low mortgage payment. So right now, at most interest rates are going between 5.5 to 6.5. That's almost a $200 to $300 difference in your monthly mortgage payments. Now you tell me, do you want to give away $200 or $300 a month in just interest on a loan, or do you want to assume someone else's loan that's $200 or $300 cheaper? So the next question you're probably going to ask is, Chris, why would a seller agree to let me assume their VA loan? Well, for one, it's your benefit. As an active duty member, retired or separated, one of the benefits of being military is that you have VA entitlements, and a lot of those loans, I'm not going to say all of them, but I think all of them, I haven't seen one that's not, is assumable to another military member. And if they've got a 2 or 3 or 4% loan, why not? The seller doesn't mind doing it because they know that you're another military member. They're doing you a favor, and they know what kind of benefit it was to them to have that low interest rate. And a lot of military members want to help other military members. So a lot of times they will choose you to assume their loan over somebody else that is coming in with a VHA or conventional loan simply because they're helping their fellow military member. And since the terms and conditions right now in this current market are a lot better than what you could currently get in a VA loan at 5.5, 6.5, 7%, then they know that it's more likely that you're going to be able to make those payments and it's going to be easier for you to qualify. Now, let me go ahead and debunk one more rumor that's been going around. VA loan assumptions take 6 to 8 months. No, they don't. We did this with our buyers in 45 days, which is the same of a typical VA loan. Most VA loans usually take about 30 to 45 days. They tell you to go ahead and accommodate for 45 days because they're a little bit more stringent. Well, in this case, this is a VA loan assumption, and they had the cash to come in with the remaining balance, and it took 45, actually it took less than 45 days. So if you have people telling you that a VA loan assumption takes a whole lot longer than getting a regular new VA loan, don't listen. And before you say that assuming a VA loan is a whole lot harder than getting a new VA loan and just buying the house outright, let me stop you right there. Because this process was a lot of paperwork in emails and phone calls, but it wasn't any more involved than applying for a new VA loan. As a matter of fact, we coordinated with everybody in the first 2 weeks, and once it was approved and they got the release from the seller's VA entitlement, everything went smooth and we didn't have any trip ups. As a matter of fact, let me remind you, my buyers still haven't shown up yet. They already own the house and we did the closing remotely. A notary came out to their house, brought the paperwork. They did all the paperwork on the kitchen table, and then was overnighted back to Middle Georgia, and they completed the closing. So the closing date was, we'll say, on the Monday. They had all the paperwork. The lender had all their paperwork, and the complete closing was completed within about 3 days of the closing attorney getting back the papers from our buyer. So again, if you're PCS in the Robins Air Force Base and you're looking to buy a house, I can help you find some of these houses that have VA loans on them, and you can apply to assume their loans rather than starting up a new VA loan and save that $200 or $300 with the lower interest rates. So give me a call and we'll go through them and see what we can find for you. And I'll talk to you on the next video.